The first thing I want to say is I feel both blessed and very moved by this combination of presenters. So before I share what I'm working on, um, it's virtually everything I'm interested in has been talked about. And one of the most beautiful things is I'm consistently in meetings now because I work on different things around the world, and I'm going to tell you about one of them. Is to start meetings with a period of contemplation and meditation that's now becoming consistent across sectors and meetings. And that's a really beautiful thing. So thank you, Rick, for starting that off, because it's part of knowing you're in the right space. What I want to talk to you about is I've recently been invited into joining something and helping the development of an organization called Kinship Earth, which is an evolution of something that was started 30 or 40 years ago by a woman called Susan David Maurer, who was a pioneer in challenging old ways of economic systems that were focused on profit rather than people and planet. And she was an extraordinary pioneer. I didn't know about her until I was recently invited to become involved. But even that long ago, she set certain principles that everybody in this space would understand. So she established some very leading business networks. She was a financier and ultimately became given a Lifetime Achievement Award as the godmother of social investment. So she was a very talented businesswoman and financier, but she saw 30 years ago where we were heading and was very active in looking at how could we create businesses and economic systems that serve people and planet. And I'm going to read the original KINS principles. I haven't got slides because we're right in the middle of redeveloping and rethinking this. And I'm sure this meeting that we're all having now is going to participate in that. But the four original principles that she had, and she started with the first one was our strategy is generosity and our intention is wonder, which was a very powerful thing for a woman all that time ago trying to establish herself within the economic world that she was working in. And the second one was a deal is a good deal when it's good for all concerned, especially Earth. The third one was everyone does what we love to do and do well and little else. And the fourth one was we sit at the table of the unknown and invite the universe to co-create with us for the highest good for all concerned. And they were the principles from 30 years ago. And a number of extraordinary, powerful networks were created from that then raised millions of pounds for social investment. She's now just turned 80. And one of her great friends really felt that there was something still to do. And he met myself and another person. And I also, having met him, felt that there was something emerging out of this. So we've very recently started to look at this. And one of the most powerful things is to look, we were looking at what's being called for here. And even in what we are doing here together, that whole idea is how do we network the networks? There's so much beautiful work going on, but there are certain themes that are rising that are consistent across all these different sectors. One is relatedness. Another is the indigenous presence within the new contemporary ways that we're looking at things. So we've been having an inquiry into what is it we're being called to do here, and we're literally working on it as today. I mean, we're working on it as we go, but we were looking and I say what Nova is doing is a prime example. Here we have one community that's got an extraordinary capacity to network people across all levels, from intellectual and academia to indigenous peoples to people working on the ground with the arts. And what's exciting is we're seeing everyone want to to create an ecosystem that is working towards the same fundamental principles. So we are looking at, well, how do you network the networks then? Could there be an ecosystem whereby we all get to know each other? We are also very much looking at that the Indigenous contribution is definitely in the room as something that needs to be encompassed, and that's coming from all sorts of different sectors, and that's a very interesting aspect. We've then been looking at how do we, it's interesting, the inner development goals, because one of the aspects that we're looking at is how do we support the inner life of the innovators and the change agents and the people who are holding this vision and space and running these networks. Could we provide resources and tools that would support their own inner life and resource them? Could we run events globally whereby we could actually not only identify the core networks, but then bring all those people together to accelerate change? So one of the key things was, and I think our core line that we've come up with was conscious transformation, accelerating our relatedness towards a flourishing planet. So how do we accelerate our relatedness? So we're looking really at celebrating everything that's going on, providing platforms that can support particularly the people who are leading these networks to ensure that they are looked after and can optimize their own lives, but they can also be in groups of people who really understand the complexity of what it is we're trying to do. And then to look at, could we have new forms of social investing whereby the return on investment is human and planetary flourishing? So could there be new ways of people providing funds and support, not necessarily from business or from grant funders, but from ordinary people or from creators and artists? And if we want to help create a better world, how could we participate at whatever level we want? Where could we become part of the future that we all want to see? So we're at the early stages with Kinship Earth of exploring what that might look like. And Nova is an example of an organization that we would love to talk to at this stage about what that might look like, because it feels like we've been invited into a task that's asking to be shaped. And I rather love this. Is, I say, everything we've been talking about now is a prime example of such beautiful work that's going on every level. And how can we amplify our relatedness in order to make a better world for everyone concerned? So I'll stop there, because I don't have much to share, because we're very much in our development stage, but I'm delighted to be involved, and I will ensure that Susan knows as soon. We're literally working on things now, and then we will inform you in order to really co-create, because I think part of it is, how do we get people together to co-create and celebrate what we're all doing and share resources? One of the ideas is to create a wisdom bank that would be, so we all take the best of what we have and we make it free for everyone else to see and access. So we've got some great ideas, but it's very early days. Yeah. So thank you. I'm delighted to be here.